Hey everyone, Maya here. It's been a while since I did these talky tidbits type of motivational talks, but I want to try something new from this point on. Now, if you've seen some of the videos I have on my channel, like the sign language covers or my original songs, then you probably have a good idea that this is me. Okay. And I've really been wanting to get back into talking motivational things because I feel at this point in my life, it can be a very powerful thing to lift someone up, to inspire someone in some way. So, today's topic that I have been dying to discuss for the last week is dealing with your nerves with an exam. So basically, exam-related mindset, okay? Now, I personally just finished my midterms yesterday. So I am in uni, as you might call it, in university. But the point is, whether you are a university student, whether you are a high school student, or whether, you just have to take some kind of exam, period, there's always some kind of anxiety, I think. There's always some kind of fear, some kind of nerves. And today in this video for Talky Tidbits, I want to discuss how I've kind of started approaching it. And maybe that can help you, because I know from firsthand experience how easy it is to second guess yourself, to doubt your ability, and to really catastrophize. Did I say that right? Catastrophize, yeah. How easy it is to really catastrophize anything that could happen, anything that could go wrong on the exam, right? So this is what I like to do to put in perspective. And honestly, I'm personally probably going to be listening to this video myself in the future because exam stress is real. Okay, so the first thing that I try to ask myself is, why am I so afraid? Why am I so fearful? And usually it has to do with the grade, right? Now, I'm not saying grades are not important. They are very much so. You should not set yourself up for just like sliding through it all and not caring at all about it. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that with exams, you have to learn how to give yourself credit for what you're doing, for the effort you're putting into what you're doing, and leave it at that. Don't be so fixated on being the best. Just be your best, right? I mean, that's really all you can do at the end of the day is go in, take that exam, take that test, and just give it all you've got, even if you're still nervous about some of the concepts that are involved. What I thought of is like, let's picture it a little visually. Like, let's say this is where you want to be, like this level, and you end up here, right? That's lower than where you want to be, right? So what happens is, I think, especially with the mentality, if you have kind of like, say, a perfectionist mindset, which I used to deal with a lot, and taking harder classes snapped me out of that mindset because I had to realize very quickly that things are not always going to go the way you want them, especially if it gets to be a harder kind of class. So basically, let's say this is the level you want to be at, and this is where you end up. Well, what's going to happen is if you decide to grieve over it extremely and second guess yourself and berate yourself and doubt your self-worth as a person because of that, you're going to feel like you were down here instead, and that's not really helping anything, is it? So what I would suggest, and what I've been trying to do myself, is work your way up little by little, right? I mean, that's really all you're shooting for, I think. That's really all you're wanting to do, is to get better so you can understand something, or at least understand it enough to move forward with your life. And another thing that helped me keep it in perspective is to remember, this exam does not define you. The grade you get on it does not define you as a person. To paraphrase something I heard in a motivational video before, which is a really good motivational video. It's by Jay Shetty. If you haven't checked out any of his stuff, I would highly recommend it because they have helped me keep a clear, level mind in times like these. So basically the gist of what I got from that video was, your grades do not define you. The score you get on this exam will not determine your entire future, right? It will not take away your talent. It will not take away your potential. It will not take away your ability to succeed in life, to do good in life, right? Because, you can be really, I think, anything you want as long as you are willing to put in the hard work and the effort and the determination for it. Here's an example that really solidified it for me. It just popped up on my YouTube recommended videos the other day. It was called From Failing Student to Rocket Scientist. That's also another interesting video I'd highly recommend. In short, the lady who was talking, she failed calculus, chemistry, geometry, and calculus, geometry, chemistry, and I believe algebra. So basically 4 very math-loaded subjects, 4 very complex subjects. She failed those in college, and now she is a rocket scientist. So that really shattered the idea I'd had for years that, to be a really good scientist or to be someone that really contributes to the scientific field, you have to be top-notch all the time. And she did say she ended up graduating top of her class, but that was after she had to rethink how she was viewing those failures. She had to rethink what defines failure in her mind. And this brings up another good point. Especially when you're a student, it is very easy for your self-worth and your metric of success to be defined so heavily by the grades or by how you're doing in a class, right? Because that's what shows up on the paper. That's what shows up on the transcript, right? But you have to remember, and this is really important because this is something my own professor told me a few weeks ago after we had our midterm, because I told him about how the class had really helped me shift away from that mentality of being a perfectionist in my grades, because he told me the more complex a subject you get into, the more you simply cannot allow yourself to think that you have to know everything or that you will know everything in that short time span, because there's just too much. And he said, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what value does that grade actually bring to you? What does it actually tell you about your potential, right? Because in the long run, I think people who are willing to be curious, people who are willing to be determined, people who are willing to mess up and get back up, that stands out a lot more than whether or not you have a perfect track record. I'm not saying a perfect track record isn't great. If you got it, it's awesome. But what I'm saying is, if you don't have that perfect track level, don't beat yourself up about it either. Because ideally, you want to move forward with a new optimism, a new kind of way of looking at how you can take your situation and improve it, right? And beating yourself up about it, getting mad at yourself or upset with yourself over it is not going to improve anything, right? It's kind of like this quote I remember reading before. I can't remember who said it, but it was about worrying. And the idea was, worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair, right? You have something to do, but it doesn't actually get you anywhere, right? Because you can rock all day long in a rocking chair. It's going to feel like you moved so much, you're still in the same spot. It's the same thing with worrying. And in my mind, it is the same thing with dealing with test anxiety, exam stress, whatever you want to call it. So my point is, at the end of the day, be happy for the effort that you've put into your exam. Be happy for the effort you've put into your studying. I've definitely had times where there were classes I studied for hours and hours and hours trying to get the material, and the exam was just still really hard. But I survived, and you will survive, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, if you really, really want to put it in perspective, then think of it this way. Nobody is holding a gun to your head while you are taking that exam. At least, I hope not, right? If we can assume that safely, and I am not meaning to generalize at all, I'm just saying, if we can assume that, then you will be okay. You can breathe, you can give yourself time to process everything that's happened, and you can move on, right? You can approach life with a new kind of enthusiasm and maybe a little bit more determination and excitement, because you've gotten through this challenging part of your student life or your life. You can move forward, right? That's how life is. It throws obstacles at us. What happens is up to us. The difference is how you choose to react to that obstacle. You can figure out a way around it. You can overcome it. You can figure out a clear-cut way through it, or you can ignore it and stop where you are on the road, right? If we imagine life as a road and all these roadblocks are the obstacles, there's many things you can do once you come to your first roadblock. And it's certainly not going to be the last one you come across. But I think that's life. That's building resilience, building determination, building willpower, And as stressful as test time can be, as stressful as the exam season can be, it teaches you to work with what you've got, to be content with your best effort, and to not stop looking forward. So hopefully that gave you some insight. And if you're watching this and you've got exams coming up, or you already took exams and you're kind of freaking out over what could happen, what could go wrong that you don't yet know, just keep in mind, you got this. So hopefully that gave you some insight. And until next time, I'm Maya, and this is Talky Tidbits out.